Upper all the way around.
Around.
Will it be a dark color like the cedar?
No, it's going to match what if you see there in the driveway, it's a tan colored, painted. The existing cedar shakes were never ever painted. They just weathered. So there's a variety of colors there, but they eventually get dark and unattractive. I brought some additional samples, or some actual samples, and you can see that they finally get to a point you can't do anything with them. With the Hardy, you can power wash it. It'll last, has a 30-year guarantee, 50-year life. If you get 7 or 8, 10 years out of these, you're lucky.
Mr. Mills, are you planning on putting the hardy plank and then painting it to match what's on the garage? Is that what you're planning? Mm-hmm. Good.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, any other questions? Thank you. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. All right, I'll open it up for a motion or any discussion.
I make a motion that we approve file PZ 2023-199 with the 2 conditions.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we will call for a roll call vote again, please. Thank you.
Chairman LaBiche,
For?
Commissioner Avery, Commissioner Bell,
Or
Commissioner Berube, Commissioner Crawford,
Or
Commissioner Macon,
here, 4.
Commissioner Provo, and Commissioner Siggy. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mills. You can start putting your house back together again.
Thanks a lot.
All right, our next file is PZ 2023-202. It's a request for a certificate of appropriateness to rehabilitate a historic structure and keep a parking lot and an accessible ramp at 694 Forest Street.
Thank you. What Delancey is passing out was also emailed to you, but this is the final review from the Texas Historical Commission. The packets had already went out by the time we received their initial thoughts. David Bradley requests permission to rehabilitate the historic Holmes Duke house located at 694 Forest. The rehabilitation began without the benefit of an approved state review or the applicable building permits. Shortly after the packets had been submitted to each of you, the Texas Historical Commission completed its review of the request, which is what you just received. The request is to keep 6 paved parking spaces using the existing curb apron and brick perimeter, replacing the front, side, and rear door entry steps, with the side door having an accessibility ramp that is sympathetic to the design of the existing porches. Removing the faux window shutters and replace the rotten siding to match the existing, painted to match and restore and duplicate the porch detailing, remove the roll down shades, and make roof repairs to match the existing. The property is listed in the 1977 and 1989 Spare Beaumont survey, with its significance listed as a Beaumont's best example of a small Queen Anne house, and one of the few surviving from the pre-spindletop era. Receiving the historical review has changed staff's recommendations just slightly from what's on your packet. The new recommendation would be that all applicable building permits and inspections are obtained through the Building Codes Department, and that all work be done in compliance with not only the Historic Landmark Commission review, but with what was approved by the Texas Historical Commission, which is everything that we've also listed in there, just in case y'all haven't had time to read through thoroughly. While y'all look at that, I'm also going to show you some slides. The first is a view of the handicap accessibility ramp. It's really hard to tell in these pictures, but those railings are actually spindled. They're just a much skinnier spindle compared to what you'll see shortly on the front porch. He's repaired and replaced the bottom of the pillars post here. And as you can see, those spindles on the front porch that are rotten and deteriorating. He's in the process of getting those repaired. And the accessibility spindles are much like that. They're shaped small, wide, small. Here at the top of the structure, you can see the pull-down sunshades. Those are what he is asking to remove, which the THC has already approved, as they were added in the 80s and not part of the original structure. These are the parking spaces that are in the rear of the structure. You can see the brick outline of the original driveway. He simply expanded the parking along that brick. And that is all. And the applicant is in the audience, as well as a representative of the Jefferson County Historical Commission.
Did we give an approval for that fence?
Yes.
Okay.
2 times before. It was in the office.
Thank you.
All right, any questions, other questions for staff? All right, Mr. Bradley, if you're here, if you'd come forward, please. Name and address for the record and tell us what you're doing. Thank you.
Hello, members. David Bradley, 2165 North Street. This is Dennis Swearingen. He is the co-owner of this property. This has been an interesting journey and turned into quite a collaborative effort. Very familiar with the historic district where I do most of my work. This was outside of that. And I soon discovered that, of course, we knew about the Texas Historical Commission. And after 3 phone calls that weren't returned, we went ahead and started to clean up the property. Then I discovered who the Jefferson County historical folks were, and they petitioned the city to intervene on their behalf. And then the city then discovered that they had jurisdiction due to it was zoned as a cultural landmark, I believe. So I think we finally got to where we need to be, and it was nice that the state provided their approval of our work plan in time for this meeting. Any questions? I'm happy to inform.
Any questions for Mr. Bradley?
I'd like a grant.
This is an office place now, right?
Yeah, it's a tenant. And the handicap ramp was needed. And of course, everybody supports ADA requirements, but that was the most sympathetic thing we could do. It's a hospice facility. Or administrative, there's no housing there.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Thank you all. Thanks.
All right, any other discussion? If not, I'll ask for a motion.
I do have one question. We approved the fencing last time, and we're doing this. Is there going to be anything else to this structure that we're going to need to approve?
David?
No, we already have paint approval, and we're going to start painting tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
So it should not come back before you again. And
Okay, I was just curious.
Again.
Thank you.
All right, I'll ask for a motion one more time or it'll die with lack of a motion.
I make a motion that we approve file PZ 2023-202
A second.
With staff recommendation.
with the 2 conditions plus the additional information from staff.
All right, and
Second.
we have a second from Ms. Avery.
Okay.
All right, we'll call for the vote.
Chairman Labiche,
For?
Commissioner Avery,
4.
Commissioner Bell,
4.
Commissioner Berube,
4.
Commissioner Crawford,
4.
Commissioner Macon,
4.
Commissioner Provo, Commissioner Siggy.
All right, we have approval. Good luck with your project, Mr. Bradley. It's a beautiful home. All right, our next file is PZ 2023-221, a request for a certificate of demolition to remove a rear addition at 2332 Avalon Avenue.
I apologize again. There's another small revision to this staff report, just due to a change of information that was provided. James Eller is requesting permission to demolish a 3-room addition on the rear of the structure located at 2332 Evelyn. Mr. Eller has stated that the rooms he wishes to remove were not part of the original footprint of the home, and that the portion to be demolished is not visible from the street right-of-way. The property was red tagged on April 12th, 2021, and was brought before you for a raise order in June of 2022. When the property failed to come into compliance with the red tag, and Mr. Eller failed to apply for his work program during the allotted time, he was forced to file a TRO against the city to allow him time to repair the structure. The property is listed in the 1991 Spare Beaumont survey, with its significance listed as an example of middle-class housing built since the 1930s and a precursor to the modern ranch. We mailed out 19 property owner notices regarding this partial demolition. We received 1 in favor and 2 in opposition. The first in opposition reads that the house next door is severely deteriorated and needs to be raised. Its condition makes piecemeal efforts to bring it back to code unrealistic. Mr. Eller has claimed for years that he will fix it, and we have lost faith in his ability to act promptly on his promises, and we have been patient for many, many years, but the delaying tactics seem obvious. The second response says, deny request. The whole house needs to be demolished. It has not been to code for years. It is abandoned, and the front yard only gets cut. The whole house and backyard are health hazards, and we have reported this house for years, and nothing has been done. And the final response just says, yes, in favor. It doesn't have any comments listed. And the applicant is not present. The first slide is just the visual from the left of the front of the house. This is the visual of the right of the front of the house. This is a drawing of the proposed demolition provided by Mr. Eller. And that is all I have for you.
When one of you went to the site, was there still other deteriorated structures behind this house?
Yes, there are still structures in the rear of this house.
There's like a bunch of them back there is what I could tell from the photographs
Sir.
that I could get my hands on.
Yes, sir, they are still there. They have not been removed.
Okay.
Down on the lot behind it or on this lot?
No, directly behind it, there is, well, what he's wanting to take off of here, you can see the rafters of some of the rooms because there's no roof left on part of that. This MB, where it says MB on this drawing, there's exposed rafters, and that's been a long time ago because I'm looking at Google Earth photograph, and those things are probably 3, 4, 5 or more years old. And then behind it, at the end of this driveway, I think there's an old garage apartment building, and it is, I mean, you couldn't see the backyard for all of the stuff that looks like it was falling down in the backyard, so.
He has made efforts in removing some items, but it is still under the red tag program. It has not come into compliance.
Well, I'm not opposed to giving him an opportunity to fix the house, because it is of the style that tons of these houses in this style and this look were built back in the 30s and 40s for just average homeowners, and it does fit the character in the neighborhood.
I do apologize. I did miss, we were recommending approval with the conditions of the applicable building permits and inspections be obtained through the Building Codes Department and Demolition Department, and that the siding on the rear of the house be installed to match the existing profile of the structure. I apologize.
All right, any other thoughts?
So just so I'm clear, no one currently lives in the house right now, the whole thing,
Correct. No one lives there.
right? And that's been since how long?
I took over the district in 2018, and at that time, he was not living there. So I don't know if it's been since then, but
And I've seen it like this for a long time.
yes, ma'am.
But he's had plenty of time to do something. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I do have Ms. Delancey Wood here with our demolition department, who does have an in-depth background about the tagging process and the inspections made, if y'all are interested in hearing from her.
Please.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was originally red tagged on April the 12th of 2021. He did sign up for a work program on April the 19th of 2021, which gave him 150 days. So we did an inspection at 90 days, and he hadn't made any progress. We did another inspection at 150 days, which was September of 21, and no progress had been made. He did call me and ask for an extension because he was working with code enforcement and the health department trying to get the yards cleaned up. So I did give him a 90-day extension until 1/13 of 22. I'd never heard from him at that point. That's when I brought it before y'all to make sure that you are okay with it. You approved it. We took it to council on March the 7th of 23. They did approve him for a 150-day work program. You have 10 days to sign up from a work program. At that point, he did not get to us and sign up for the work program within 10 days. So he did have to file a temporary restraining order, which he is on a restraining order right now until September the 8th of 2023. So the house will have to be brought into compliance by September the 8th.
Any other questions for staff?
What do you all recommend?
There's no, let me ask the audience, is there any neighbors here? Oh, I don't see any neighbors.
I would approve that you do approve it because he does have until September the 8th to still make some progress. He did spend the money for a restraining order, so if you approve it, he can get his permits and get to work on it. If he's making progress, we can look into doing another restraining order or leave it up to the judge at that point for the judge to determine whether they're going to allow him any more time.
But if I make a motion, it's just to remove the rear addition. Is that what you got written here?
So the request comes from him. The request is not from city staff. The request is from Mr. Eller himself to demo these 3 rear additions that were put onto the structure. So his request for his first permit is to demo this portion to begin the rehabilitation of the structure.
At that point, he still would have to pull building permits to meet the red tag standards and repair the structure.
And staff has put the condition that he's got to put the siding back on the back of the house, can't just tear it off and leave it that way.
Well, I move that we approve PC 2023-221, the request for a certificate of demolition.
With planning
With the
staff
staff
recommendations.
recommendations, yes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Chairman LaBiche,
For?
Commissioner Avery,
For.
Commissioner Bell,
Or
Commissioner Berube, Commissioner Crawford,
4.
Commissioner Macon,
4.
Commissioner Provo, and Commissioner Siggy. Thank you.
All right, that'll be approved. Our next file is PZ 2023-223, a request for a certificate of demolition to demolish a red tag structure at 592 2nd Street and the corner of 1715 McFadden.
Boyd Meyer, building official, requests a certificate of demolition for a house located at 592 2nd, also known as 1715 McFadden. The structure was tagged October 10th of 2021 when it was found to have numerous code violations and is considered unsafe for human occupancy. Based on the extensive repairs needed, building code staff is recommending a raise order. The property is listed in the 1990 Spare Beaumont survey. However, the structure that is shown here before you today is not the structure listed in the Spare survey. We mailed out 19 property owner notices and received 0 in response. Staff recommends approval of the request. For your slides, this is a front image of the structure. This is from the side. And this is further over looking at it from 2nd Street where you could used to see the rear.
Any questions for staff?
How long has it been abandoned?
I have Miss Delancey Wood here. I'll let her.
We actually tagged it October 6th of 2021. And I have not had any contact with the owners.
Or the neighbors?
No.
I've got a question regarding the taxes that are owed. What happens once we demolish this property?
The taxes will still be owed on the property. Eventually Jefferson County will take it to auction to sell it for,
Sell the lot?
yeah, they'll sell the lot.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the owner has been contacted and they're opposed or against?
They've been contacted, they've never responded to us.
Okay.
All right, I'd ask for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve file PZ 2023-223.
I second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval. Have a roll call vote, please.
Chairman LaBeige,
For?
Commissioner Avery,
Or
Commissioner Bell,
Or
Commissioner Berube,
4.
Commissioner Crawford,
or
Commissioner Macon,
or
Commissioner Provo, and Commissioner Siggy. Thank you.
All right, and be approved. Our next file is PZ 2023-224, a request for a certificate of demolition to demolish a red tag structure at 2098 North Street. Staff report.
Meyer, building official, requests a certificate of demolition for the house located at 2098 North. The structure was originally tagged May of 2020 and has changed owners numerous times, with many starting the repair but never finishing. The structure has numerous code violations and is considered unsafe for human occupancy. Inspection reports provide that the last work was completed in October of 2022. Based on the extensive repairs needed for this structure, building code staff is recommending a raise order. The property is listed in the 1990 Spare Beaumont survey, with its significance listed as an example of middle-class housing built in Beaumont after the first spindle-top boom. We mailed out 17 property owner notices, received 1 in favor and 2 in opposition. They read as following. One of the oppositions says that a vacant lot would be a greater hazard and nuisance than the current house. The home should be marketed and sold and restored to its previous. One in favor says only if the current owner declines to finish what's been started. One more beautiful home in Old Town that should have been saved, but what happened? Another in opposition that says out of concern for another homeless encampment will appear and negatively impact our businesses that we have on 4th Street. Planning staff is recommending approval of the request.
question, what's the exterior? Is this stucco?
Yes. This is the current, or this was the previous front of the structure when it was brought before you in May of 2020. This is what it currently looks like from the front. And this is the current side. And again, Ms. Delancey Wood is here with our demolition department who has exterior details.
So it was tagged originally May 29th of 2020. The work that has been done by the owners that currently own it, it's a husband and a wife, and they had actually purchased it for their son for him to redo as a project. He started on it pretty well and he was very excited about it, but then he up and moved to Houston, so mom and dad are kind of stuck with it. He did do the foundation work. It has not been inspected. It looks like it's done all the way around, but again, nobody has come in to actually do the inspection and approve it or deny it. The back of it is open where the wall there was a lot of termite damage. It's piled in the back right now, hasn't been cleaned up. They have done some framework on the first floor, but there's still a long way to go. And a lot of the stucco is already cracking in quite a few places, so it's going to have to be repaired or replaced.
Have the owners, present owners tried to sell the property?
They have. I've had a few investors that have called me, and Mr. Bradley has let us know today that he evidently has taken on the contract to sell the house.
Sell the house?
David, would you come up and?
Looks like it could be saved.
Having lived and worked catty-corner to the property, I've seen it go through probably 5 owners. It was a victim of mortgage fraud back in the day, probably 25 years ago. Got an out-of-town appraiser and an out-of-town lender, did an equity loan for about $350,000, and then she left town. And it has gone through foreclosure probably 4 times since then. Someone will buy it, work to renovate it, and then finally walk away from it. I sold it to the current owners who now live a block down in the Weiss home on the corner of McFadden and Fifth. And they've done a beautiful job with that. And they went into this. They probably have spent $125,000 on foundation work alone. It's gutted inside. Yeah, it would have to have total rewire, total plumbing, total fixtures. And again, the kid went to Houston and left it with the parents. So I got a listing today. They've had multiple inquiries. I've got multiple suspects that might be interested in it. So it's worth preserving. So I might ask that y'all postpone any action and let's see if we can get something rolling in the next month or 2. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm kind of in agreement. It's a beautiful home.
Yeah.
It's a shame that somebody hadn't come across it and just said, realize what's got to be done. But a lot of the tough stuff, the tear outs, been completed on it, so.
And the foundation, if they've spent that much on the
Yeah.
foundation, that's half the battle right there.
Like you said, it's been gutted inside, the foundation's done, it's just the electrical and plumbing that need to be brought back to code, so I think it's worth it.
I mean, if we deny the request, then it gives it some more time.
Or table it,
We can just deny it.
deny it?
Yeah.
What?
I'm one of the neighbors to that property.
Oh,
Yes, you can turn that in to staff and she'll read it.
Or if you would like to speak, either way.
Well, we're actually the church right beside it. Now, for our benefit, the structure, because of the way it
One
is.
second, would you just state your name and your
Tim
address?
McCraw,
And your address for our records, please?
777 North 4th Street.
All right, thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem. So for our benefit, our plans to present eventually, because we have seen that it had, like he said, gone through several different owners. But we're a Hispanic congregation that purchased the Bethlehem Lutheran Church in 2015. And so for our benefit, of course, the structure wouldn't mean anything to us due to the fact that we would eventually like to possibly present to the historical district to open one of the first Hispanic community centers that would be right there beside our church. So I didn't respond by turning that in until today, when I came to the hearing. But anyway, that's just, because right now we also have plans to have a Christian school in the church, and that would be a structure possibly, I don't know if the historical district would approve that, but that'd be another day, another conversation, I guess, for a historical, not a historical, but a community center for the Hispanic population in Beaumont. So anyway.
To clarify, the structure is, the property is currently zoned RCR, which is Residential Conservation Revitalization. I'm not sure without the permitted use table in front of me if a community center would be something that could be permitted there. But I believe a school or private institution could be with a specific use permit. I can do more research into that if you'd like.
Very good.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate you taking your time to come out and enlighten us on what your situation is with the property. All right. Any other discussion? If not, I'll look for a motion.
That we either table or deny the certificate on PZ 2202-224,
All right, denial or
whichever.
table?
I need one or the other. It can't.
Oh,
Can't be both.
no.
Okay.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Chairman Labiche,
Deny.
so in favor of denial, okay. Commissioner Avery? Aye. Commissioner Bell?
Now, if I say deny, that means that
Approval of the denial is
approval of the
what
denial.
you're
Okay.
for, okay. Commissioner Berube?
Denial.
Commissioner Crawford?
Denial.
Commissioner Macon?
Denial?
Commissioner Provo? Commissioner Siggy? Thank you.
All right. Case is denied. Our next file is PZ 2023-225, a request for a certificate of demolition to demolish a red tag structure at 2235 Harrison Avenue.
Boyd Meyer, building official, requests a certificate of demolition for the house located at 2235 Harrison. The structure was originally tagged in July of 2021, having found numerous code violations, making the structure unsafe for human occupancy. Based on the extensive repairs needed, building code staff is recommending a raise order. The property is not listed in the spare Beaumont survey. We mailed 21 property owner notices, received 1 in favor and 0 in opposition, with it stating that the owner of the house at 2235 Harrison has not maintained it in years. The property has been attracting vagrants and wildlife, causing our neighborhood to become unsafe. The house is a safety issue as well as an eyesore. Planning staff is recommending approval of the request. Got some slides for you, the first being the front of the structure. This is the attached garage to the structure. This is an example of some of the damage of the siding that's allowing the rot. And as always, Ms. Delancey Wood is available with a detailed history.
It was originally tagged July of 21. We've had no contact with the owners whatsoever. They have not called us. The taxes, as you can see, are behind and they continue to go up. You can't really get to the back of this house without climbing through some trees and bushes and woods, but we have gotten reports from people that they are having vagrants go in. So I'm assuming they're going in the back.
All right, any questions for staff? All right, any other discussion? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve file PZ 2023-225.
A motion and a second. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Chairman Labiche,
For.
Commissioner Avery, Commissioner Bell, Commissioner Berube, Commissioner Crawford,
4.
Commissioner Macon,
4.
Commissioner Provo, and Commissioner Siggy. Thank you.
All right, the request is approved. Our next file, PZ 2023-226, a request for a certificate of demolition to demolish a red tag structure at 2350 Angelina Street.
Boyd Meyer, building official, requests a certificate of demolition for the garage apartment located at the rear of 2350 Angelina on Minor Street. The structure, having numerous code violations, is considered unsafe for human occupancy. Based on the extensive repairs needed, building code staff is recommending a raise order. The property is not listed in the spare Beaumont survey. We mailed 18 property owner notices and received 0 in response. Staff is recommending approval of the request. On your screen, you'll see the front image of the garage apartment. That couch has been there since 2019, just so you know. It's another frontal image. And then this is the staircase leading upstairs to the unsecured apartments. And as always, Delancey Wood with details.
It was tagged January of 2022. I did go out and take pictures recently, and the interior of the structure is starting to give out the framing underneath, so we need to get it down. We've had no contact with the owners, even though they live in the house.
They live there?
And this is where the taxes are paid. It says 0 owed on taxes.
Yeah, they don't owe any taxes. They pay their taxes,
That's good.
and we tear it down at no cost, so.
Wow, okay.
They live in the house.
Yeah,
Front.
Yeah, on the
Right.
corner.
So you're talking about tearing down the whole thing, the house and the apartment?
Just the
Just the
garage
garage
apartment.
apartment.
It's only the garage apartment.
All right, any other questions?
Would the driveway be removed as well, or just the structure?
We'll take everything except for the approach, and we'll take the slab as well.
Where is the house in relation to the apartment?
Looking at this image, you're on Minor Street. Angelina Street is behind you. It's this way,
To the left,
to the left.
to the left of that picture. It sits on the corner, right?
Yes,
The house
it is
is
a
on the
corner lot.
corner. This is on the back side of it. This,
The main structure is a duplex.
oh, they said that the owner lives there.
I'm just looking at the address.
Oh, maybe.
I say it is a duplex. The main structure is a duplex, so I'm not sure if it's the owner and someone, but
I guess I shouldn't say the owner. The owner has tenants that live there, so they are,
okay,
there's people that are,
Okay.
could sign off on it.
okay.
All right, any other questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I move that we approve PZ 2023-226. Request for the certificate of demolition on 2350 Angelina Street.
Second,
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? If not, could we have a vote, please?
Chairman Labiche,
For?
Commissioner Avery,
or
Commissioner Bell,
Or
Commissioner Berube,
Or.
Commissioner Crawford,
Or
Commissioner Macon,
or,
Commissioner Provo, Commissioner Siggy. Thank you.
All right, the last thing on our agenda is a Historic District Code Enforcement Report.
Hi, guys.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
So we have the May monthly report. We start off with 26 new historic violations, 1 historic reinspection, 3 new JV violations, 3 JV reinspections, 4 new litter violations, 18 litter reinspections, 45 new weed violations, 77 weed reinspections, 33 city cut reinspections, 2 owner compliance cuts, 2 new general nuisance violations, 6 general nuisance reinspections, 4 zoning violations, and 3 zoning reinspections, a whopping total of 227.
Well, it is that time of the year for not cutting the lawn. Any other questions for? We thank you for your work and appreciate it. All right, any other business? If not, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you all.